Hello everyone. Today, as far as our science fair projects, we're moving on to the next step about how to collect our data. So yesterday, or in the last video, we came up with a good experiment, all the steps of an experiment that we could do to answer the question and find out if our prediction or our hypothesis was true. And so the next thing would be to do this experiment. But as we do this experiment, notice that here I said I'm going to record the average size for the set of potatoes, and down here I said I'm going to record the voltage for the potato unit, and I said I'm going to record how many light bulbs I was able to connect. So if we are going to record things, we have to know how we're going to record things. Now, if we were doing this like a real scientist, normally what we do is we have some kind of lab notebook, and this kind of lab notebook is better than the other kind because we want to make sure that everybody knows we didn't change anything. Remember how I told you yesterday or in the last video that even if you find out that this prediction is not true, you don't change it. You just say it's not true. I found out it's not true. That's perfectly fine to find out that it's not true. Well, we want everybody to know that we didn't change anything, that we didn't just try to make it fit what we wanted it to be. So if we use this kind of notebook, the first thing about this kind of notebook is you can't tear pages out of here. You can, but what happens when you start tearing pages out of this kind of notebook? The notebook starts falling apart. Once you tear a couple of pages out, the notebook starts falling apart. Everybody knows you've been tearing pages out of it. If you use the other kind of notebook, like this kind of notebook, you can tear pages out. Yeah, it leaves these little crumbs behind when you tear pages out, but if you take all of those out, nobody ever knows that you tore any pages out. So that's why this kind of notebook is better, because people know we haven't torn any pages out. Then the next thing is when you write in a notebook like this for your lab notebook and you take notes and you collect data, you make sure you write in pen, not a pencil. And the reason you write in pen is because you're not going to change anything. And if you do make a mistake, and I was going to see if I find a mistake I made in my notebook anywhere, but so I made a mistake here and I just made a line through it and wrote the right word above it. But the thing is that anybody reading this could see what I wrote the first time. Now, this is in my conclusions. It wasn't actually where I was collecting data, but it would be the same thing. Even right here, this is when I wasn't that practiced at doing it, and I had completely scribbled something out, and you're not supposed to do that. So notice I wrote a note out here that said, scribbled through before thinking, had started writing very on the wrong line. And without thinking, I scribbled through it. But see, now somebody's going to go, oh, you changed your data. That's not what it really was. So I made a note of why I scribbled through. I shouldn't have scribbled through. I should have just made one line through it. But I made a note of why I scribbled through, because I did it before I thought about it, and I'm using a pen. I can't erase. So that's how we normally would collect data, is in a notebook that people know we can't tear the pages out of. If we do, the notebook starts falling apart and they know it. And we also write it with a pen instead of a pencil, and we don't change things. I mean, if there's a real mistake and we have to change it, we just make one line through and keep writing so that people see the mistake we made too, and they know both things. But what I'm going to show you today is the next part after that, or you could do both at the same time. As long as you have something that people know you didn't change, that's a good thing. But then you could also do both at the same time, and you could use an Excel spreadsheet to make life easier as you're collecting data. Now, remember that yesterday in my experiment, I said the first thing I'm going to collect is the average size and the average weight for the first set of potatoes. So I want to make an Excel spreadsheet, and my first column, and I can just type in these columns, my first column is going to be potato unit. We'll just call it a unit instead of a set. So potato unit, and for this, I would just number. If I have 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, I could already just number how many units I know I have. And then I said I was going to collect the average, wrong thing. Then I said I was going to collect the average size in centimeters and the average weight. Okay, so to make life easy, I don't have to figure that. Here's how I can do that. I can say size potato 1, and this is potato 1 in the first unit. By the way, in Excel, if you go right here until that turns into a plus sign and double click, go chick, it makes it fit what's the longest thing in that column. And size for potato 2. Now, remember I said I wanted the average of them. So I'm going to make a column that says average size. And then I need weight potato 1, and I need weight potato 2. Let's make these fit. And then the other thing I needed to collect was record the voltage for the whole unit and record how many light bulbs for the whole unit. So I'm going to say voltage for unit, number of light bulbs for unit. Now the reason I'm doing it in Excel is because these things are easy enough. I'm going to read this on my multimeter and I'm going to put whatever that voltage is. I'm just going to type it in. I have no idea what the volts are going to be, but I'm just going to type something. I'm going to say how many light bulbs I could connect with this unit. I'm just going to type it in. Maybe 2 worked. And the same thing, I would just type in other things down here, however many it was. You're not going to make it up like I'm making it up right now. This is actually what you're going to test. And the size is easy enough. When I measure potato 1, oh, and I should have said in centimeters, or if you're doing it in inches, you should say in inches. And this time I'm going to make all of these things. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say wrap text. That'll make it go to more than one line. And I want to center it. I think that would look, that's not what I meant. I meant that center. I think that would make it look better. So I need to say size of potato 2 in centimeters. I need to say, this of course is in centimeters because it's the average. I need to say weight of potato 1 in grams. If you're doing it in ounces, you need to write in ounces. And I'm going to click right here. I'm going to right click with my mouse and say insert because I forgot to put average weight. And this would be in grams as well. Now, when I'm collecting data, it's easy enough. I'm going to measure my first potato, and if it's 5 centimeters long, I'm going to write 5 centimeters. If this one is 4.6 centimeters, I'm going to write 4.6. I'm going to skip that for a minute and come back to it. If my weight in grams, I have no idea how much a potato should weigh right now in my head. I'm just going to put 52 grams. I don't know if that's even close to right or not. And the second one was 64 grams. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to calculate this average size and this average size. That's why we're doing it in Excel. Excel will do it for you. If you need to do an average, we're going to go up here where it says formulas, and we're going to insert a function. Now, I could just type this, but I want to show you how to find it. Up here, I know I'm wanting to find an average, so I'm going to type average here and click go, and it's going to jump down here to an average. It returns the average of numbers. So I'm just going to say, okay, that's the one I want. And I need to put number 1 in the first blank. So I'm going to just click right here because this is the first potato. And then I'm going to hit tab to jump to the second blank, number 2. And I'm going to just click here because that's the second potato. And then I'm going to click OK. And what it does is it goes ahead and calculates. Notice it put a formula up here. It goes ahead and calculates the average of those 2 potatoes for me. I'll do the same thing over here, but I'm going to do it a different way. This time I know the formula is average, so I'm just going to type equals average because I know that's the formula. I know I need to click the first number, and I need to put a comma and click the second number, and then I need to close my parentheses. So I could do it either way. If I already knew what the formula was, I could just type it in. Now what I can do, if I knew I had 5 potato units, I can click on this cell with the average. I can move my mouse until it changes to the little plus sign, not the big cross, but the little plus sign. Hold down my left mouse button and drag down as far as my numbers on the left side. When I let go, it will make that fill in. Now, don't worry about that it's saying an error. The reason it's saying an error is because we don't have any numbers here. I'm going to do the same thing for this average. Drag down and fill it in. Don't worry because that's going to change. What it's telling me is I don't have anything here and I'm dividing by 0 because these are 0. So then when I go to my second potato unit, I measure this one, and this one is 7.3 centimeters, and this one is 8.9 centimeters. Notice it already did my average for me. I didn't have to worry about it. Again, I have no idea what the weight is supposed to be, but I'm going to say this one was 96 grams and this one was 87 grams. Notice it already did my average, and I don't have to worry about it. I would have to type in the voltage and type in the light bulbs. When I do the next one, let's say this one was 9.8 centimeters and this one was 11.6 centimeters. They weren't very close. It already did the average. This one was 102 grams and this one was 112 grams. It already did the average. I'm making this up. You won't make this up. You actually have to do it. I'm making it up to make it fast to show you right now how to collect data while you do the steps of your experiment. I would be getting this because I would be doing step 1. That's where I would measure the potato with a ruler. I would measure the potato with a scale. That's where I would get these numbers from. And remember, there's 2 potatoes in every unit. I would do all of these steps. And when I got here, I would use my multimeter and record the voltage. And then I would go type the voltage in this column right here. Then I would do all of these steps. And when it said continue to light up more light bulbs, or continue to connect more light bulbs until they do not light up, then when I got to this step, record how many light bulbs, I would go back to here and I would record that's how many light bulbs it would work for. Let's say the voltage was 24 and the light bulbs were, I don't know, 2. I'm just making it up. You don't make it up. My next potato, I take my 2 potatoes from my next one, and remember, I'm getting bigger and bigger with my potatoes. So this one was 12.8 centimeters. And remember, I'm making it up. You don't make it up. You measure the potato. The next potato was 13.7 centimeters. I already have my average here. Let's say that the first potato, I weighed it on the scale, and it was 158 grams, and the other one was 197 grams. It already has my average for me. And I would record the voltage and the number of light bulbs. And I would keep doing that for all of my potatoes. And if I realize, oh, wait, I actually had 10 potato units. Doesn't matter. I just keep adding those down here. And all I have to do is grab the bottom cell and drag it down however far I need it. For those columns that are calculated. These I actually have to measure and I actually have to type them in. But I'm just going to skip to the bottom to show you that dragging that bottom, even though it looked like this one was bad because it had an error, it has the right formula. It just has an error because there's nothing here. I'm going to jump down here just to show you that if I start typing numbers in here, see, the formula does work. It still does an average. Now, there are so many formulas in Excel that I can't show you all the formulas you might need for your science fair project, for your experiment. So you may have to Google, how do I do this in Excel? If I need a different formula, how do I do this in Excel? If you ask a question in the comments about it, and I see a question in the comments on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube video, I will try to answer the question for you and at least point you in the right direction with a link of where you can go to find out what formula you need to use. But a very common one that people might need is average. So I showed you average, but there are tons and tons and tons of other formulas that you could use on Excel that could help you record your data. Now, this is recording my data because I have different potato units. Some people, like I told you that I had the student who played the video games every day and he recorded his reflexes by using a ruler every day. And so his might look like this. Instead of what you see up top, his might say the date, and he would put February the 11th of 22 and February the 12th of 22. Now, after you've done this a couple of times, if you highlight both of them and drag it down, it'll actually fill in those dates for you and you don't have to keep typing. But his next column might have been inches on ruler before video games. And I'm going to make these be, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to wrap text so they do more than one line. And it could be inches on ruler after video games. Now, he was meaning he was testing his reflexes, but I don't really want to write reflexes here because reflexes aren't measured in inches. We're just kind of cheating the system to say, this is a way I'm going to measure what the reflexes are. For those that didn't see the other video, it's the thing where somebody else holds a ruler right here and they drop it and you measure where you caught it. You're not really measuring reflexes, but what you're doing is you're saying, I caught it at 11 centimeters, and you make sure you started at 0. I caught it at 7 centimeters, and that tells you if it takes you more centimeters to catch it, your reflexes are slower. If it takes you less centimeters to catch it, your reflexes are faster. So I don't want to say reflexes here because we're not measuring reflexes. We're just using these inches as a way to come up with a number we could use for reflexes. And actually, what he probably would do here, I said it the wrong way. Remember, I told you he did it 10 times, so it would be inches trial 1 every day. Inches trial 2. Inches trial 3. Now, I'm just going to try and see what happens if I try to copy these over, if it'll let me go to 10 that way. It surely did. Because I had done the 1, 2, and 3. If you try to just copy 1, it would just copy exactly what was there. But sometimes if you pick several things and then try to copy them over, it'll say, oh, I do see that pattern. You're doing the same thing, but you're going up 1 number every time and see it happen to work. Sometimes you just try things and see if they work. And then at the end, he needed an average for every day. If you remember that, you might want to go back and watch that video where I was talking about it. I believe it was the first video of this playlist, but an average inches. And that way, we would put that average formula here, but this time I want the average of all these things. So I'm just going to drag it and then close my parentheses. And I'm going to copy that down for every day, just like I did up top. And now when he measures his inches, or I should have said centimeters. Remember, I probably have to have a few of them before it will copy over, right? And I also want to make these all wrap text. And I want to make them all centered. I don't know why that one is. Oh, because the light bulbs is bigger, that's why. Okay, so now when he started typing in his centimeters from every day, so if the first one he got 7.8 centimeters, notice right now the average is 7.8 because when you only have one thing, the average is the same thing. But on the next one, he got 5.2 centimeters. On the next one, he got 8.9 centimeters, 7.1. Remember, you're not going to make this up. I'm making it up to show you, but you would actually have to test it and see. The next one, he got 6.4 centimeters. And let's say for some reason he really messed up big time. Right now, the average is 7.08. He really messed up and he wasn't paying attention. And this time he got, how far does this go? This time he got 29.5 centimeters. All right, it made the average go up a lot, but it's still not way up at 29.5. And that was the reason that we said, let's take an average of how many you do that day. Let's go back to kind of the same thing in the bin 6.4, 7.2, 5.9, 5.7. And by the time we get down here, this has come back down a lot. It's not close to that. And that's why you're taking an average, so that when you have the word for this for a scientist is called outlier, because notice how this one is so much bigger than all the rest. But like I talked about using the pen and the notebooks, we don't change anything. We don't go, oh, I messed up that time and redo it. We still put it in there for now. Now, in a lot of real scientific data, we will come back later and say, we can look and tell that this is an outlier because it's so much bigger, and we can justify taking it out. But at least in the beginning, we don't take it out. We leave it in there, and that's why we're using an average, because if this happened to be the only one you did that day, that would probably be wrong. So we're using an average so that they all kind of come out the same in the end, even if we have one that's completely different from everything else. It gives us a better picture of that. And so This person doing the video games and the reflexes would come in and record this every day for a date. So he's recording things that change over time. I was recording things that change for each trial that I'm trying to do. So you're going to have to set yours up in a way that matches what you're trying to record, but I gave you 2 examples here that you can see. So that's the next thing you need to do is you can do it in a notebook if you like. But then you can also at the same time come and do it in Excel because it will do a lot of this math for you and you don't have to worry about it. In a later video, I'm going to show you how we can come back in Excel and we can make graphs and charts really easy from this just by clicking things, and it will just make the most beautiful picture that we can include in our science fair presentation in the end. So for now, what you need to do is go ahead and start doing your experiment, set up an Excel spreadsheet like this, and record your data in it. And I will see you next time.